afternoon, Facebook. Today is National Caregivers Day, and very often I come across with these national days. However, today, National Caregivers Day is personal. It is personal. And of all the national days that I recognize, this is the most personal one. And I am sitting in the back of my gallery, which is titled The Heart of Caregiving. And a sub-theme from that is Rebounding from Grief to Growth. All of us, at some time in our lives, will either be a caregiver or be cared for. Well, let me recognize that music, because it is so very important to tie in music with caregiving. The music you're hearing is from an album titled The Doc in the House, The Doctor in the House. And surprisingly, if not, well, it's not surprising, that doctor in the house is a family member. Dr. Richard Allen Williams, retired cardiologist extraordinaire. He's retired, however, he's still actively involved in healthcare. He founded the Minority Health Institute, and very often he organizes webinars. Just weeks ago, webinar pertaining to COVID-19 and how that affects African Americans. So Dr. Richard Allen Williams, Cousin Allen, I salute you today as we celebrate National Caregivers Day. Now the music, let me say a little about the music. Dr. Richard Allen Williams is a jazz musician extraordinaire. He plays the flugelhorn, which is a top-notch horn or instrument out there in horns. Yes, that's what he plays. And in 2018, the city of Wilmington, Delaware, his birthplace, recognized him, gave him the keys to the city at the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. And he has created an album titled I Remember Clifford Brown. So this man is extraordinary in many ways in the field of healthcare. He has written over 10 books. He has done extensive work on sickle cell. His books are very, very enlightening. His music, he has his own jazz band, Raw Sugar Jazz Ensemble. And you can get his album on the internet, which is, his website would be rawsugarjazz.com. Or just Google Dr. Richard Allen Williams, and then you could find it. Great. So let us recognize National Caregivers Day. And as I mentioned, this is personal to me. In the fall of 2014, my late and dear husband of 31 years was hospitalized. He was in the 4th stage of cancer. He had survived it, beat it for 21 years, lived quality health style. I'll talk about that later in terms of caregiving. And only the last 5 months of his life that he was ever laid up. Actually, the day prior to hospitalization, he was still driving. And we're going to link that to quality lifestyle and caregiving. So yes, I want to recognize caregivers today. And I started out with family. So let me continue with recognizing family members who are caregivers, who are healthcare professionals. Dr. Adib Rushden. He recently finished his training. Nurse Marsha DaCosta, based in New Jersey. Nurse Giovanni Larkin, member of the family work Caregivers. And now I want to get very personal. The caregiver who provided quality care for my late husband while he was in a nursing facility. Her name is Maisie Lawrence. I woke up this morning, I called Maisie, we had a great talk. I thanked her, it was very emotional. I thanked her for the quality care and love that she gave to my late husband when he was laid up at the Regency Healthcare Facility here in Wilmington, Delaware. And Maisie will be coming in soon to pick up her gift. And I'm going to talk about recognition of caregivers, not just in lip service, but tangible. Recognize a caregiver in a very tangible way. They deserve that. I want to recognize my personal caregivers. My primary care physician, Dr. Magat, Anna Leos Magat, my personal primary care physician. My cardiologist, Dr. Hamid Deleri. My optician, Dr. Alorin. All these are great caregivers, and I have to recognize them. This doctor I'm going to recognize is not a personal caregiver, but I want to salute him for the work he does, and also because over the years he has been one of my greatest patrons in the art. That is Dr. Eric Johnson, who is an orthopedic surgeon extraordinaire based at Christiana Hospital. I want to recognize my ENT, that is Dr. Luft, my podiatrist, Dr. Michael Henry, and the list ends there. And if I left anyone out, I want to recognize all medical professionals who provide caregiving. And caregiving is as my page this morning. If you go to my page, you will see a variety of images. And the subject, the way I laid it out, is caregiving is a work of, not A-R-T, a work of H-E-A-R-T. To be a caregiver, you need to have a big heart. So we salute our caregivers for the big heart. Friends in the field of caregiving, and there are many of them. All my friends who are caregivers, I recognize you. Special recognition to Daphne Walker here in Wilmington, Delaware, and Nadine Lindsay. And again, if I have left out anyone, I shower you with thanks for all you do. I salute you for giving your heart to caregiving, especially in this era of the pandemic. So I'm going to take the heart of caregiving to a visual level. You know I'm an artist. Soul and mind is focused around art, A-R-T now. So we're going to talk about the heart of caregiving, and I'm going to relate that to images in my Caregivers Corner. And this corner of the gallery is dedicated to caregiving. It is dedicated to my late husband, Robert LaFate. Yes, this corner is dedicated to him. Robert worked for Amtrak, and when he retired, he received an award for not missing a day in 41 years. I guess that could go in the Guinness Book of Record. and he was dearly loved at Amtrak. So the personal relationship of caregiving that I'm talking about was caring for that man, the love of my life. And in the last 5 months of his life, while he was laid up in a nursing care facility, for those 5 months, I never missed a day. It started in the winter of 2014 and went on to the fall. Starting the fall of 2014, went on through the winter and through the spring of 2015. He passed on 5/4/2015, so it's coming up to the 6th year of his passing. And no wonder my theme for the gallery is rebounding from grief to growth. Because as a caregiver, when you care for that loved one and you lose that person, you cannot throw the towel in. You must rebound. And I use this LaFate Gallery is more than a gallery, it is a vision center. I use it as a vision center. And one of the workshops I teach here is actually titled The Heart of Caregiving, Rebounding from Grief to Growth. And on 5/4, I will be hosting a paint night. It's going to be free, limited to 6 people, 6 caregivers, and people who have lost their loved ones. I'll tell you more about that. It's going to be a free caregivers paint night because I know the power of art, the ART now. I know the power of art and music in caregiving, and that is why I want to reach out and touch the lives of those who are caregivers or who are going through grief. So let's talk about the pieces in the Caregiver's Corner now. My late husband, as I said, passed from cancer. And when people come to this corner, the first question I'm asked is, did he pass from heart problems? And the answer is no. So why is there so many pieces of art in this corner that have the heart? The answer, to be a caregiver, you need to have a big heart, because caregiving is a work of not art, not this type of art, but caregiving is a work of HEART. So the series. And while my late husband was in the nursing facility, and I visited daily, I would take these little canvases, because I couldn't take the real paints or brushes, and I would take the big chunky acrylic markers like that. And all the work you're looking at in this corner, they were created at his bedside. So for example, this piece, today we're celebrating caregivers. This piece is titled Hands of Care. This piece, Caring Hands. And the next piece, which is very, very emotional, this piece is titled Piercing Heart. Because when you care for your loved one, you lose that loved one, it's like piercing heart. And that's the title of that piece. Here's another big heart. And I am very, very connected to the relationship between caregiving and diet. You have heard me say it over and over and over again. And by the way, by this time, everyone should know the name of this work of art. It's titled, Your Life is on Your Plate. My late husband had cancer. He also was diabetic. He lived for 21 years after being diagnosed with cancer, never ever took a dose of chemo or radiation. I did extensive research. Disclaimer, I always have to do this in case there are medical practitioners and medical people out there listening to me. I am disclaiming that I have no training whatever in the medical field. I have never gone to medical school. However, during the years of caring for my late husband, and in particular the last 5 years of his life when the cancer had gone to stage 4, I did extensive research because I was being pressured to let him start the chemo, take the radiation. And through my research, I opted not to. He did take hormone tablets, those big tablets, for a day. But I saved him the trauma of the chemo and the radiation. And the man lived for 21 years with chemo and also was a diabetic. How did that happen? Medical miracle, you may ask. No, it was not. And disclaimer again, I do not have any training in the field of medicine. However, I give myself a degree in common sense. Yeah? For my research, extensive research of the relationship between diet and diseases, especially cancer. So back to your life is on your plate. Yes, 90%, from my reading, 90% of the diseases that are related to cancer are related to unhealthy diet. Learning that, I revamped the diet of my late husband. That's why he lived so long. And he was never, ever laid up. I have to make this distinction. The man was never laid up in bed until the last 5 months of his life. He was a workout freak. Yes, exercise freak. We used to go to the gym. I am the yoga fan over there. That's my yoga on. Used to go to the gym, and they even, he had a tag name, the Spinner Man, because they had a process at the YMCA called Spinner, and he was the leader for that. So health care related to diet and exercise, that's what gave him quality lifestyle. So food art. So I developed these pieces around food. And that's the olive oil there. More olive oil. The importance of vegetable. I even have a cabbage head man. Well, let's find my cabbage head. Okay, here we go. Cabbage. No. Fruits and vegetable are key component in health and beating cancer and diseases and building the immune system. Recent studies show, and this is relevant now to the pandemic, that 80% of the people who died from the pandemic, COVID-19, have low immune system. And this is medically researched and documented. I'm not making this up, so that's important. Okay, so yes, he loved his crabs, so I would throw his blue crabs in the diet, sure enough. And I starved cancer from those types of food that are dangerous. So these are meatballs. And who loves meatballs? Who wouldn't? However, I minimized processed food. Minimized. These were considered treats. The hot dog, and he loved these things. Yeah, but I took them out the diet, and that gave him quality lifestyle and prolonged his life without any very dangerous effects, that he could live healthy lifestyle. Okay, so the relationship between healthcare and diet, and today is National Caregivers Day. Again, I want to salute all of the caregivers out there. I thank you for the work you're doing, putting your lives on the line daily, especially now during the pandemic. And I am saying we need to do more than lip service to recognize our caregivers. We need to do more than that. This morning, I went on the Facebook page, or pages of many of my friends and relatives who are caregivers, and I shared my post on their page. I called up, as I said, I called up some of them, and I have gifts in the gallery that are going to be given to caregivers. Now, one of the gifts that the caregivers who cared for my late husband, they all received, this is my profile for today, the Heart Caregiving Tree. And all the caregivers who cared for my late husband were given a signed copy of this. We must do more than talk. You know, you talk the talk. Please, I implore you, do something tangible to recognize a caregiver. Get a card, a work of art. Get something that the caregiver can identify with to recognize Caregivers Day. So here in my gallery, and yes, I am a business owner, so I'm now on the commercial part. I am not just your motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. I own a business, and the purpose of the business is to sell art. So all I'm talking about here, I want to get these works of art in your hands. So I am encouraging you now to tangibly recognize caregivers. Here's a pack of cards. It's a pack of note cards. Oh, there are 4 cards in the pack, all related to caregiving. All it costs is $20. That's all. Here is these are the single cards. This one was well loved for Valentine. Because that really took. And this is the theme piece of the Heart of Caregiving. These single cards are only $5, and you can frame them. Here's what I did. I purchased these beautiful little frames, and I framed them. And the frame piece of art only cost $20. This would be a great gift for a caregiver, for a medical professional, so they can have it on their wall. I talked about hands of care. How nice it would be to give a caregiver a work of art like that. The life is on your plate part of it. Yes, very, very important. And I'm taking on a subject, or actually, during my caregiving, I took on what may be considered out there as a controversial subject, but it is relevant to caregiving. We cannot discriminate, and the health caregiving field has been rife with discrimination, still is, against people who are same sex. Yes, they don't get the same type of treatment, or they are actually seen as the others, and they're not cared for. There is still a level of discrimination against LGBT people out there when it comes to caregiving, and we cannot allow that to continue. This piece is titled Equality. Love, equality, caregiving. Let me repeat. Love, equality, caregiving. And what inspired this piece of work was all the way back to the 1980s, when a dear cousin of mine came down with AIDS. And back in those days, they were rabidly discriminatory about AIDS. And I'm pinpointing now my own country where I'm from. And if they're listening to me out there, I challenge them to change their policies in how they look at people who are same sex. So he was hospitalized, and during the course of his hospitalization, his partner was barred from seeing him. So he died and never got a chance to see his partner. And that was very, very cruel. So when I was doing my caregiving art, I had to throw this piece in there. And one of my Facebook friends a few years ago came to the gallery and persuaded me to sell him the original. I said, I can't sell it because it's related. Yes, I did sell the original to someone who's passionate about diversity and about equality in caregiving. So thanks to my patron for that. So yes, people who are who have different lifestyle, as caregivers, we need to recognize them and not to discriminate. Do not discriminate against people. Caregiving should be equality. We should treat people equally. And it is well documented out there that in this pandemic era, African Americans are getting a raw deal in terms of the disparity in treatment. We can't allow that to continue. So we need to, search our hearts and do better. Do better to recognize everyone. And we give thanks again to our caregivers who are out there. Now, if you want to recognize a caregiver, how do you go about getting something tangible? 2 ways, actually 3 ways. You could come to the gallery here at 227 North Market Street. I have these cards, they're here in packs of 4, and then I frame them. So you could come to the gallery, 227 North Market Street, to get your pack of cards or your frame piece. You could go online at www.lafategallery.com, and I will be soon working with my web technician to create a special link on my website that is going to feature all the art that you're seeing here about caregiving. I'm going to put them in a separate file. And as I say that, everyone who watches my video by now should know that I am a charitable person. Right in this corner here is a sign which reads, Benefit Art Sale. And this is the way it works. So I love to give back to the community. And the first year anniversary of my late husband's passing, I held an art benefit art sale for the medical facility, the home medical facility where he had stayed for 5 months. I sold prints from the art and I donated a portion of the money to the healthcare. So I have a program titled The Art of Charity Benefit Art Sale. If you're an organization out there, if you are related to the medical field, please call me at 302-656-6786. I would love to partner with you to sell my caregivers the whole heart of caregiving. The heart of caregiving art. I don't want to hold on to them. I want to sell them and donate a portion of the proceeds to the medical field, to caregivers, to organizations that are giving care. That's my goal. So once I establish that link, that benefit art sale is very transparent, and you don't have to do a thing hardly. All you have to do is to direct patrons to that website to purchase the art. Then I donate a portion of the proceeds to your organization. It's a win-win. And I do have some in-person auctions here at the gallery, 227 North Market Street in Wilmington, Delaware. If you're a struggling organization out there to raise money, struggle no more. Call Eunice LaFate at 302-656-6786, where we can develop a partnership. I have a written proposal. And then we will have an art auction. You get the patrons to buy the art. Your organization will get a portion of the proceeds. It's a win-win. So I am very passionate about caregiving. And I will end my video by saying caregiving is a work of not A-R-T, but H-E-A-R-T. And all of us at some time in our lives will either be a caregiver or be cared for. It's as simple, just as night follows day. It's going to happen. So let's take caregiving seriously. Our minds. And don't dismiss it. Don't say it's for old people. It's everybody's responsibility. So thank you very much for watching. Again, my website, www.lafategallery.com. And I'll be establishing a link with all my caregivers' art. And you'll be able to partner with me from a distance by sending people to the website to purchase the caregivers' art, and I donate a portion of it to you. If you live in and around the city of Wilmington, come on over to 227 North Market Street. That's where the gallery is located, in Wilmington, Delaware. And come over to see the art about caregiving and to purchase. And there is a lot in this gallery. So thanks again. And to all the caregivers out there, happy Caregivers Day. I say a word of prayer for you every day because you're laying down your lives on the line to care for your patients. You're doing it from your heart. Caregiving is a work of H-E-A-R-T. Say thanks to a caregiver out there, please. Get on the phone today. Recognize a caregiver. Get on their page. Put a post that will thank them. Get something tangible to give them. All of that is important. Thanks again for watching.